Hello, you guys. Welcome to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson, where we get into a wide array of discussions around controversial topics that are around issues or things or news or highlights or popular headlines that are taking place. Y'all can tell I'm tired, okay? That are taking place in America and abroad that have an impact or an effect on Black, Brown, melanated community or people that identify with the community in any way. So tonight I'm going to do my countdown in just a minute, but I just kind of want to brief you guys on what we'll be talking about today. I do feel like it's important that we have the conversations that are necessary. And some of those conversations are going to be sensitive topics. They're going to be sensitive conversations. They're going to be sensitive discussions. And sometimes people have a tendency to be riled up, spirited, right? And sometimes these are very spirited conversations, right? I do want to encourage you guys to share your insights and your thoughts, as I have definitely asked for them in the description below, wherever you're catching this particular podcast on, if you're catching it live. If you are catching me on the replay, I do want you to subscribe wherever you hear me. I want you to subscribe to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson so that I can continue to hear from you and so that you can continue to hear from me and you never miss an episode if you like this type of content. Typically, we do not talk about very politicized things or topics, polarized topics that lean too far into politicism or religion one way or the other, because I feel like sometimes that can cause people to unveil parts of themselves that are less desirable, right? So we're going to talk about politics today, though. And I do feel like it's necessary that we have the discussion, because oftentimes we forget how important it is that we as parents, we as community members, we as cousins, mothers, fathers, etc., have these discussions with our children, our young people, and prepare them for the life that is ahead of them. We have an election coming up this year, and well, there are several concerns with how all of this is panning out now. I feel like we're definitely in unprecedented times, and this is the time for us to have some discussions with those people that we love, our young people, our youth, because they are our future, to teach them the things that they have to learn, they need to know, as some of the bare necessities or the foundational principles around how it is that we best select a candidate that is representative of us. And we'll talk specifically to how it is we should be considering representation, right? Some of the things, some of the very, very far left and some of the right ideation that is out there. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into our countdown while I play and preview some of the topics of discussions or highlights or talking points for tonight's show. I am going to see you guys around in just a moment. Give me about 1 minute, literally. Well, hello, you guys. Welcome back. I know that minute was so long and pressing and all of that stuff. So I want to correct something, because clearly while I was doing the intro, I guess you guys did not have adequate sound. Sorry. You know, that happens sometimes. I have a mic, that I use, and I happened to move it at some point, but that's not even important, okay? But so now everything should be back on cue, everything should be calibrated and should be working just fine. And I hope that you guys can hear us. If you find that you cannot hear us, please let us know that you don't hear us in the comments. I'm hoping that the comments are working. I will put a comment in there just to see if you guys are able to see it. It doesn't look like it's going to one of the platforms that we're streaming on, but that's okay. Yeah, whatever. But so I did say that I was going to go ahead and highlight the talking points, but I couldn't highlight the talking points because, like I said, I noticed that we were having some auditory issues. Okay, so here we are. Okay, this is going to be one. Here's just gonna kind of just bring them by, so you guys can see them. We won't say you didn't see them. Okay, and we'll give our final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up the show. So we do kind of have we have a lengthy discussion for tonight prepared for you guys. And again, I want to apologize for my tardiness. I know that I did commit to being here at 9:30, but hey, had a mom emergency. Not my emergency, it's kids' emergencies, making them yours, right? The adult ones. But there it is. All right, so let's jump right into the show because I still got some other things I need to do. So if you guys are interested in sharing your topics, your insights on the show, and you want the link to join the panel to actually have a discussion, Kel is definitely here with me. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell the folks where they can find you on social media, Mr. Kelso.
Hello, YouTube people. You can find me sitting here every Monday with my wife at 9:30 p.m.
And he does have a YouTube. I'm sure you guys can see his YouTube. It's kind of connected to mine. Look for a similar photo, right, of us. Where there's one, there's typically the other. Kind of how that works. Okay. But so let's jump in. I want to start talking about the American democratic process. So for you, right? How would you define the American democratic process? What is the process of democracy in America? He is a many generation American from the state of Georgia.
Well, how can you say that? Well, it's so old. Well, things that you change about it, whether you update it what I'm living now. You can't have an old 1700th century document trying to do a 2024 thing.
So you mean the governing process? Okay.
The parameter diagram of the democracy made from that the beginning, the foundation, but it has to be modified at some point because people don't live that way anymore. The foundation is clear, but you have to add some things to where you add now. Like abortion rights, stuff like that, all kind of stuff going on. Kind of not tweaking for society, but tweaking for the purpose for everybody, for all Americans.
Current societal norms,
right,
need to be taken into account. You think?
Put standards like certain standards. Generalization, won't be made for a gender or particular race, like that. It's for all citizens, all colors. Maybe think your favorite right, stuff like that. I don't know.
Okay. For me, I see the process of democracy in America as one that is supposed to include a certain level of checks and balances. I don't feel like it's oligarchy. I don't feel like it's a dictatorship. I feel like there are some checks of powers, or checks and balances of power, right? I do feel like we have, these processes that we go through to get to the what we want to accomplish as private citizens. And I do feel like a part of that process, right? A part of the checks and balances is us as private citizens having proper representation. We talked about in last week's show what the definitive components of democracy are, right? And it's about us being represented appropriately, right? So if we have a system in which everybody in a society has a right to vote, and then after we're voting, the person with the most votes is elected into office, and then that person now is the representative component, right? Or representation that's going to go forward for everybody. So not just the people that voted for them, but also the people that didn't vote, right? So, I think oftentimes we're voting for the right candidate. And I think that can be so difficult for us to select as people. One of the things that I have told my children is to look at the issues that are currently happening in the country that you are a part of, where you are a private citizen and you have the right to vote. Look at the issues that are happening, and you have to decide how it is that you weigh in on those issues, whether or not those issues affect you directly or not. Because I think as a private citizen, we are oftentimes not held responsible or held to account enough as to where we sit on particular issues just because they don't apply to us, right? And I think that's where democracy really starts to show its face. It's a collective of people that are weighing in on things that do or do not concern them, but could impact them or the lineage in which they're leaving a legacy for. And because these issues could possibly impact them, or they can see it, empathize with people that it does have an impact on, those people, the majority, right, of society, they take a vote and they take a stand, and their stand is now ejected into the system that currently exists, so that there are protections or expansions for these particular things that they've taken a particular position on. So for me, what I see a system that is very much geared up to deliver some level of equality, right? Because equality is about all of us having the equal access and equal right to a thing. And we may or may not decide that we want to exercise that thing, right? And regardless of where we are in our lives, we still have, as a basic free citizen, we have that right to exercise. And some of us don't, right? Some people do not vote. And I always say to stand in inaction is to actually declare an action in and of itself. We just have to find out whether or not we're on the right side of what looks the closest to representing us when we do decide to stand in that inaction. There is absolutely nothing wrong with doing nothing, though, right? Because sometimes the situation calls for that. But I feel like we have a democracy in America that, for the most part, is geared up to be equal and to exact to an end the meeting of the needs of the citizens, in which this particular democracy represents. It's for control so that chaos does not ensue, but we can't guarantee that chaos will not, right? Because there are too many independent variables in a city or country or state where you have all free citizens roaming free, right? And whether there are rules in place or not, people are still going to feel free to do what they want to do. And I oftentimes say sometimes we have to sit and think about the consequences of our actions before we take an action, but everybody doesn't feel that way and everybody doesn't think that way. And I think that that's the other piece of that part where I'm saying we do live in a country where democracy is about checks and balances, but also there is this piece where we don't all exist in the same way, right? But so that's how I feel about the American democracy. You guys let me know what you think democracy looks like in America.
I'm one more thing with democracy.
You probably have to come
close. You
were
right about that one thing about the candidate part, about getting the right person in the office.
Mm-hmm.
But once that happens, when they get to Washington, D.C., that's when the real game begins.
The person.
Yeah, the person begins to try to do the right thing you want to call. You got the right person in the office, right? Mm-hmm. But you had a power, influence, and invade a dollar come in place. That's when it get a little flawed and teared and stretched to where they trying to buy your vote or influence your vote, use power to get you not to vote or to vote. It's not about right or wrong anymore. It's about who had the influence of the vote money to persuade you to do the thing they want you to do for their own cause, whatever it may be.
Right.
You know, so that was the thing that I.
Well, you smell good.
That's also things that I see that are going on in our democracy that is too debatable. You can't stop that. It's been exposed by some other people that have made us aware how that thing really works.
Okay, so to that point, right? I do want to talk about relatability of elected officials. So here's the thing, and that's the part I wanted to talk about, because I think people need to understand truly how the American democratic process works. I think oftentimes we have to realize we have more children that are now eligible to vote that were not eligible to vote in the previous election than before, and really ever before. You know, more of these kids are getting registered to vote and they're exercising their right to vote. And I think that some of these people who have elected, you know, one person into office and now they have some spaces where they're very disappointed and they had some unrealistic expectations. They're learning about the weight of their vote really representing them. And so I feel like I see on social media now so many people talking about the relatability of the candidates. I've seen so many. When I say so many, I want you guys to understand, like, I have several social media profiles and I have a huge following when I put them all together, because I have separate profiles on the different platforms. Okay. Just on Facebook alone, I have somewhere around 45 to 50,000 people that I'm connected to. Now, on every single page, every single Facebook page, not just my professional or business page, but private pages, follow pages, content creator pages, what I am seeing is people create several different memes and several different GIFs that say Kamala is not us, all right? Or Kamala is us, or I'm with her, or I'm against her, or, you know, and the same thing for Donald Trump. And here's the thing, right? I can't tell you guys to vote one way or the other. What I do encourage people to do is encourage the candidates that are running for office to show you their face as to what it is they're going to stand on business on when it comes to them actually being placed in these political positions. Because I think that that's the important part that so many of us miss in trying to get Trump out of office this last election. And then now we're seated with Biden and there are false promises. Clearly, I mean, I do understand that there are some neurocognitive issues there, right? But I think that some things, we have to be a nation of people that call a thing, right? Even where we are making strides in one part of the economy, it's okay to talk to the fact that we're still in a deficit in other parts. So as the sitting president, whatever the commander-in-chief's name is, or whatever they look like, as a person who is a veteran, right, who has honorably served this country in war times, I will say, I'm going to stand behind my commander-in-chief fully, whoever it is. However, when it's time for me to hold you accountable, especially if I voted for you, I would be asking and encouraging you and your press secretary to answer the questions that are painstakingly necessary at this point when we're sitting in the middle of what is like the second coming of the Great Depression. The price of basic necessities, you guys, all of the prices have skyrocketed, and we still have not seen, still to this day, we have not seen anybody come in and try to increase the federal minimum wage level. And I know a lot of people are saying, oh, well, that's that's unrelated, blah, blah, blah. If your housing market and your interest rates are raising, right? If your food costs and utility costs and raw material costs, your gas, right? Oil, crude oil, water, if all of these components are raising in price, then there has to be a raise in the minimum wage. And what happens is when you don't see that increase, you see chaos. We have chaos in these streets right now. And the reason is people don't know what to do when they cannot make ends meet, no matter what they're doing, you understand, to stabilize themselves. You have folks that have been, well-to-do to middle class their whole life, and now they're feeling the squeeze, and they're like, this is what it feels like to not have. This is what it feels like to be poor.
They're going to the food bank too.
Exactly. And then they got to hit up the food banks, and because they don't qualify for food stamps. And that, so the thing is, like, and even our social programs, like, at some point we've got to understand that we are so hyper extended in helping other people that we have absolutely no way to help ourselves as a nation right now. And my question would then be for the whomever, if it's the income, if it's Biden, I'm asking Biden the tough questions, like, how are we seeing ourselves come out of the position that we currently are in, right? I need somebody that is relatable, because the problem with Biden is not that he's a bad president, right? It's not that he's a bad guy. It's just the fact that he knows a lot about doing this job. He knows a lot about what the office of the president is, essentially responsible for. He knows what it's like to be in political office. He's been in political office literally so much of his life, right? He's a dinosaur, okay? And I think that it's great for us to have people that with a wealth of knowledge in office. And I don't agree with the fact that people are using ageism as a way to push people out of office, because I don't think that age has anything to do with it. I do think it does have a lot to do with cognitive decline and overall health and wellness, because there are some people that are very well, that are very vibrant, that are sharp as a tick at 90, while some other people at 90 lost it 30 years ago. You understand? So for me, the major issue here would be, how relatable do I want my candidate? Right. Because the realities are, it's not even just epigenetics to genetics. It's really just about how it is that person's living their life. And then when we ask the questions about how they're living their lives, I want to ask then questions or speak to, how safe is our food? Right? How secure is our food rations in America? Like, are we in a safe place? Because when we're looking at prices go up like this, it's like,
eggs back $13.
Right.
How? What happened?
I do not understand that.
Right? 97 for $13. Double the price.
I just don't, you guys. I do not. And the size of the eggs are smaller. That's the part for me. Okay. I know a lot of people are looking at, oh, well, that's a small thing, but not really.
I wonder why that's
shrinkflation is real. Like, if you guys pay attention to anything that you own in your kitchen that you had or you purchased prior to this shrinkflation, or prior to the last 3 years, like, go into your perishable items, your canned goods and things like that. Maybe find some old receipts. Okay. And look at the sizes of many of the things that you purchase and the prices associated with it, and then compare them to what it is that we're purchasing now and do a comparative analysis. My food cost in my home alone has risen over $2,500 in the last 3 years as compared to the years prior to, right? So that's a lot, right? And we're not, it's nothing different. Pretty consistent, right? We need the same ingredients to cook the same things, the same basic meals, right? Because we're a cooking family. So these are things that I've noticed over the course of time. Taxes are going up, property taxes are going up, all of these things. People are feeling the squeeze everywhere. We have a large amount of people are just homeless, couch to couch.
Yeah.
Right? So I have a lot of questions about how relatable the person who is in office should be to the vast majority of those people in which they represent. And not just in the office of the president. I'm talking about elected commissioners and, all of these people, because you want those people to truly represent your interests. Like, how can they represent us if they're not us? That's what I'm saying about those campaigns. I see people on their Facebook and things like that. Like, she is us, Kamala is us, all this, right?
That represent us. I'm looking in my mind between the ages of 18 35, what us look like. And that's not a good look. So you're paying down, and how you gonna find somebody relatable like that that can relate to people like that? We haven't found that person that can penetrate that mindset of these people that you're talking about.
You don't think that in Atlanta, Andre Dickens, is it Dickens?
Yeah,
Andre.
He's an up and comer.
I never get his name right, you guys. And it's no shade against you if you find this.
He's about hope you're gonna get to it and represent it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that he sags his pants, but I'm saying that his Riz, is it that they call it?
Well,
it's similar to what these young people
his
have.
Whatever.
Yeah.
The way he's swag and all that. But he still is in the age where he's a good representation of the people that you're talking about. I mean, he know that era. You know what I'm saying? He know that era. He's from that era.
Okay.
He went to high school here.
Right, but so here's the problem, right? Is there a point that the amount of relatability or the things that are relatable, right? Do we ask for the right things to be relatable? What's that?
What about as that group, they have no common goal to nothing obtainable to where they're trying to do. I mean, there's no clarification on what survival.
Yeah, survival is a common goal. Because what I see in so many of these young people, yes, they're running up in houses and stuff, kicking in doors and taking stuff, but
survival they can put it on paper.
Just basic survival. I think these kids want to eat, they want to live, they want to have a roof over their head.
Yeah.
And it's sad because it's like, I'm not trying to justify them taking things from people that are working hard and trying to, and earning everything that we built. What I'm saying is sometimes we're so disconnected from what the viable solutions are that even if we embrace equity with a fine-tooth comb, we miss where the kink was, right? Because we don't understand how to identify what needs resolution.
Right.
Like I said, the thing that needs the most resolution, the thing that needs resolution, period, is of course minimum wage. The wage range needs to increase. Because if people are not earning a livable wage, right? Think about it. The housing market is at an all-time ridiculous high, skyrocketed interest rates. It makes no sense, okay? So if we're there, how do we provide wages that are appropriate for what it is that people are trying to accomplish in their personal life as far as like the basic stuff, not even the extra things, right? Because I know a lot of us like to live above our means and then blame the white man that's non-existent.
This is a right to work country. You might say that, well, they're pro-business over economic success for the workers overall. They call without any kind of unionized or kind of collective bargaining agreement, these jobs are not going to pay you what you work. Period. It's just not going to work. And the state we in will allow that to happen. So overall, the nation have allowed that to happen.
But see, that's what I'm saying. That is the purpose of electing people into office that represent us, the collective us. It has to be an overarching. So when we start electing people,
always come back and shoot it down, saying if they do that, we're not going to be able to
afford the cost of business.
But they making profits. I see nobody who haven't made double-digit profits making all this money. They not losing. I don't see anybody losing money.
So the banks are making money, but they are losing money because when they look at their profit margins, right? So when your profit margins start to decline, you are technically losing money in banking. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's next to impossible simply because people are not investing their money. It's so much scamming going on now, but that's what I'm saying. There are so many things that are going on because we refuse to, as a country, acknowledge the fact that we need to raise the minimum wage. If the wage index raises with the housing market, with food costs, etc., then we solve so many of those other issues. And I feel like the person who we're electing needs to be relatable on the issues. They don't need to just look like us. Because I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, okay? And you guys are welcome to come for me. But this is all about elevation, education, and insight. Okay, this discussion. And it's about us all taking accountability, because here's the reality, you guys. If we as a collective community of people who are melanated don't take accountability for what things that we should be repositioning ourselves towards learning, understanding, and interpreting in order to bring ourselves from the rut that we're in to a higher elevated status, if we don't understand the things that could help us get to the place that we're trying to go, then we're just as dissonant as the people that we say are oppressing us, because we become our own oppressors by our ideation, right? So a lot of folks are saying vote Black. I don't believe in voting Black. I don't vote colors, because colors don't change issues. Right. I have to see what it is that you're telling me you are going to advocate for, what things you're going to do.
We came up, we had a platform for education, economic policies, things like that. We had a draw out plan for the fix where we want to go, voting right where we may be. This generation now, they just want entitlement. They just want entitlement and free stuff, pretty much. That's what they want. So I don't. How you gonna put that law on that? And that's stupid. They don't have no platform. Too many of them have no platform. That's why they lost. That's no platform. That's no unity. It's not.
It's because they don't have. They don't have. Yeah, there is no morality. Exactly. There are no ethics. In the vast majority of culture, though, it's because we as Black people have lost our culture. So listen, I say stand for something or fall for anything, okay? Mm-hmm. The many Black people that are a part of this movement about divesting from other cultures of people because of the color of their skin are just as bad as people who initially began segregation on the basis of color. I think that we have to elect someone who represents us, the collective, and we have to stop overgeneralizing and putting ourselves in a box just because we're the same pigmentation as another person, right? Mm-hmm. Just because you're the same skin color as me doesn't mean that we come from the same fabric of cloth. We're not cut the same, okay? Right. We don't have the same needs. We don't have the same views. We don't have the same conditioning. We don't believe the same things. Just because we're the same, have the same amount of melanin in our system doesn't mean that we're the same. We're just not, okay? And so for me, I feel like we should be electing someone based on how much they're relating to us on the issues in which they say that they are going to stand behind, get behind, push for, that look like they are representative of the collective us.
Got their hand on the pulse.
Right. So I want to now shift the conversation to political division, because I do feel like whenever there's an election campaign currently going, there is a tremendous amount of divestment from people who do not agree with us, so don't sit with us in the same light. And that's one of the reasons I would have loved to have this conversation with someone who is a far left or far right person. I'm neither. I'm right there in the middle. I am a full pragmatist, okay? So I believe in electing a person who is going to stand for the things that I find that are important for me in the moment, right? Because when we're electing a presidential candidate or a Senate or House of Representative candidate, we're generally electing them so that we can see things unfold in the next 2 to 4 years that we have had a particular interest in. And I feel like if we look at the weight of the words that are mentioned during campaign events, and we look at so many of these deep fake or disinformation campaigns and things like that, because here's my problem, right? If you're an outlet, hear me through. Hear me through, you guys. Matter of fact, hit like and share this content, because at this point the conversation's gonna get real. They might cancel my channel, I don't care. I said what I said. If you are a media outlet, let's say that you are CNN, right? And you're pushing information out there to me. If you're giving me information and you're the person fact checking the information that you gave me, it's not a fact check at all. It's just you confirming what you told me in the beginning. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you're not providing me with the sources in which you know what I mean? The full sources. You're not giving me a full video to reference and then say, okay, this information is disinformation or this information is false, right? Mm-hmm. You're not saying any of that. What you're saying instead is that, well, that's not exactly what I said, right? Or I didn't indicate that. And I just feel like oftentimes as people, if we're hearing the same slogans over and over and over on the campaign trails and on social media and on media all the time, like I swear my child who is 9 years old, he can give me the full girth of these campaign slogans. Okay. And he's been doing it since this last election. Okay, and he's 9 years old now. So I want you guys to take that in consideration. He was almost 5 years old at the point that these people were running against each other. And he could give me the specifics as to what the alleged issues were on the television, even then, because they play it so much. So I want you guys to take into consideration the effects of conditioning. Right? You can condition a person in the same way that hypnosis works. The power of suggestion is real. While you sleep, your brain is still doing things. It's the most active while you are in your slumber. It's processing and recording and storing more information than you were when you were awake. So just think about that, right? Many people leave their televisions on, they leave the radio on, and in the process, in the background, all of that stuff, that the mumbo jumbo, all of it is constantly replaying on rewind or whatever you call it, on reroute. However, it's replaying over, and you're hearing these things, these words, these slogans, and eventually you start to hold the same beliefs that have been pushed out there for you, right? And that's all you get. You don't get the full capacity of the video. So what I impress upon people is go and look at the original sources for some of these claims that are being made. Look at them for yourself. Don't just look at what's being read. Look at the recordings of the actual rallies, right, for yourself. Look at them unfold play by play. And don't look at one that's been edited. I want you to look at the ones that have been recorded live and from a trusted source for you. Excuse me, where you know people were there and just happened to record what they saw, or you've watched it and now you're rewatching it after being there. I need you to be able to timestamp and account for what it is that you've seen. One of the things that was said is, in the aftermath of former President Trump being shot, there was a press conference after the phone call on that Saturday that President Biden had with former President Trump, where he was basically checking on him, right? The White House press secretary, and let me tell you, I love this girl. She's got a lot of sass, okay, and pizzazz. She's quick with it. However, the deflection is real. And when I tell you the girl is good, she's good. They picked the right person for the job. I hate that they decided to pick a black face to represent disingenuous people, though. Because here is my problem, okay? I understand that position requires that you keep the secrets and hold the secrets with everything in you.
Best lawyer in the world.
Exactly. She is one of the best deflectors I have ever seen. Right. I sat and I watched hours of streaming, right, of her handling the press briefing that took place shortly after that, where she referenced that call and things like that. And these people are asking specific questions as to how it is that President Biden, considering the fact that he was still actively deciding to continue to campaign, how it is that he intended to lower the temperature, because that was her language that she used. And like I said, I always encourage people to go back and watch it yourself. She restated that President Biden says that he wants to lower the temperature. You had several reporters ask the same question several different ways. And let me tell you guys something. I recognize people who are determined to get an answer, because that's the kind of person that I am. You can't get me upset. Ask my husband. Wow. If I want the answer to a thing, I'm going to continue to sit with you and your anger, your hostility, whatever it is you present me. And I'm going to keep asking the question over and over in different ways if I need to, in order to get the answer to the question that I'm asking. Because for me, it's not about the emotions associated. I don't care about how you feel or any of that stuff. I literally just want the facts. These people are begging this girl on the podium for the facts around how it is that the president now wants to and will pledge to continue his campaign trail, right? In a way that is genuine to whatever the issues he wants to mention are, right? However, they do not include hostile or derogatory, defamatory comment toward the candidate that's running against him, right? They asked this question several times, several ways. Can the president commit to not saying that their candidate opposition is a threat to the United States democracy as we know it? She refused to answer the question, but she claimed that she had an in-depth conversation with the president to the letter around these issues and referenced his prior address in the Oval Office, all of the things that she wants us to consider as huge official acts of positioning, right? My problem is this, okay? President Obama took his time in endorsing or getting behind Joe Biden running a second time. President Obama is a president that I respect. That is a former president that I respect, love, stood behind, and would take a bullet for. Do you understand? And still would do it to this day. What I am telling you, once I saw his hesitation to get behind Kamala, I don't care how many phone calls happened and ensued after. I don't care about any of that. Once I saw his level of hesitation, once I saw his hesitation to back Biden during the time when they were initially asked to endorse him running a second time, once I saw the way that himself and Michelle positioned themselves in response to the many events that unfolded with, President Biden's son and the media, there are a lot of things that made me weary about Joe Biden going into this process. I say he's just trying to make the clear decision for me, Donald Trump, if he stays in the election, literally. And now I'm at the point you want to force feed us a candidate, and you still have not announce that you're going to hold a mini primary, for those of us who want their vote to count. We want to elect an official to run on a Democratic ticket if we're going to oppose Trump. I don't think it's right that we have to, by default, go with whomever. You're just going to select without the consideration of the vote of the people. Democracy doesn't work that way.
How they got there? That's the same process.
Exactly. Democracy does not work that way. A coup.
It's a vote. That's why it's democracy.
It's a coup. It is a political coup, and we're in the middle of it. We're facing the first political coup, period. And we can't do anything about it because we, the collective, we, the people, are not standing at the injustices that are happening and unfolding in front of us. So that's for people that want to stand behind Kamala and people that want to stand behind the Kennedy child. I mean, it could be any Democrat, okay? But we should have the right to elect whomever that we want to be able to be represented or considered, right, on the Democratic ticket as their elected person to run. We should be able to select that candidate because that is how democracy works. We elected as a people Donald Trump to run for the Republican ticket, right? Other people dropped out. We saw what the numbers were. We elected Joe Biden. Other people dropped out. Nobody really challenged him, but other people dropped out. And other people got behind him and endorsed him, blah, blah, blah. But we saw what the votes, the comparisons were. You understand what I'm saying? I think that we should have the right to elect the person that we want to run on the Democratic ticket. Again, there should be a miniature primary, and yes, it'd be the first one in history, but this is also going to mark the first time that there is a political coup. Not even in the middle. This is at the very end of the campaign, and it's not fair to us as people. It simply is not. So I just think that people need to really consider, right, what political division really looks like. We're watching people condition us to be a divided people so that we can be conquered and we no longer have a say. And to encourage people to think that a candidate is a threat to democracy is even a larger offense, in my opinion, than us holding or trying to hold President Trump liable for the riot that happened at the Capitol. We're no better than we were then as a people. We have to be people that encourage our political candidates, both of them, to stop name calling, because nobody cares about whether or not you think that this guy is an old fart. Nobody cares about your personal, feelings towards this guy. We care about what issues you guys intend to get into office and then remedy for us. We're holding a president who had nothing to do with a vote, responsible for overturning abortion rights for women, being, upheld in the Constitution as a constitutional right. When a constitution that we're referencing and the constitutional area that we're referencing has nothing to do with women, because when it was written, women didn't even have the right to vote. We were still seen as property. It's illogical to me. I think that our candidates need to have sound issues, and those sound issues need to be presented in a way that we understand who it is that we're electing into office this time. We've made enough mistakes. I think that as American people, we want to elect someone that's about to exact change in a way that is meaningful, in a way that is respectable, and in a way that returns the American democratic process back over to the people, because we're supposed to be a government that is for the people and by the people. Those are my thoughts. Right. I just don't see where we are and how we got here. But I do know that words do carry weight, and we have to learn to hold these people accountable. Oh yeah, I think that those words are the ones our candidates want to avoid.
That's why we educate y'all. So those words been still and stayed intact. They had better chance to choose from because they thought they had a more fabric, been a little bit more stronger. Humanity would have been made a lot more movement to them.
Agreed. That's another area of discussion, but we're going to jump into that tonight as well. But so I want you guys to let me know what you think about the weight of words and the impact of how it is that disinformation has either influenced or uninfluenced you to vote a particular way at this point. Do you feel like the fact check systems that they do have, going around are reliable? All right, so let's get to this. Uncomfortable as it may be. Sean Grayson ended the life of Sonia Massey in and what I would say was probably to date the most painful video that I have watched of police brutality. People, this is BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. And in this month, we've seen a woman assassinated, basically, who was experiencing an extreme mental health event. And it was painstakingly clear. Police officers and training for police officers. And I know you guys see me advocate for police officers a lot on this platform. I do. Okay. I stand behind law enforcement wholeheartedly, but only the law enforcement members who are reputable members of the team. No, nobody deserves to die like that. Like, I would play a clip, but I can't out of respect for women, out of respect for our community. I won't. Yeah, I can't. And I have so many thoughts, you guys. Like, I have friends that are licensed in Illinois. I have friends who live there, very, very close friends. I have family who lives there. And racism is very much still alive. I think we see it in different places, because we cannot, as a collective of people, put to death something that has been ingrained into people's core, right, for centuries. We can't, Humanity will find a way to discriminate. We will find a way to exact our biases. We will find a way to be prejudiced against one another, even if it's not based on race, creed, color, ethnicity, religion. Like, we will find a way, because we've always found a way to be prejudiced. I think that is the most human trait in us as human beings. And when we take a really deep dive into the evolution of humanity, that's the one thing that has remained constant, regardless of what age we're in. But I don't know. I don't know how much of this was racism. I think it was 2 months ago. Wasn't it 2 months ago? I played the video of the police officer walking into the home of a white couple. The woman who had called the police because she was having some difficulties with her husband, and he was irate, having a mental health emergency as well. And I think he went for his gun. I think he went for his gun and the police killed him. I mean, it was quick. It was a lot quicker than what we saw in Sonia Massey's case. Okay. Yeah. And it was in the same area. Yeah. And I don't think it has to do with race, people. Yeah. I don't think it has to do with race. I think it has to do. You don't like to live. You doing too much. Yeah, I think it has to do with us placing people in positions that they don't qualify for.
That too.
Are we so desperate that we would put?
It's real because these people do have weapons and they can't be sidetracked with, distracted and think something going on is not there. You got to be trained and retool and train and type of. You gotta have mental awareness sharp at all times.
That's true.
So if not, you distracted, somebody will get killed. It could be you. Or you get the wrong impression, kill somebody else, ain't just you. Overreacting.
Sonia could have been any of us.
She could have been all of them.
She could have been any of us. She could have been any of us as general members of the collective public. Right. She could have been your white neighbor. She could have been your black neighbor. She could have been your Indian neighbor. She could have been. She could have been any of us. Yeah. She could have been any of us, and it definitely breaks my heart that she had to go that way. Like, I think she was clarifying literally, and she was ducking. She was clarifying that she was just joking. And then he was slow in his approach to make sense of it all. So it's a lot of that has me. I have so many questions. They would only be appropriate for that particular person who has committed this act, and that's him. But I can't imagine what she was going through in that moment. She just seemed like she was in a very delicate state of consciousness and mental health presentation. I'll never understand it. I'll never understand it. Because for me, it was the fact that the gunshot wound that was found in her face was found below her eye, and the bullet was pointing downward. So just imagine this, right? And we can see her ducking and apologizing behind the counter. The first piece is that the counter is between you and her. Mm-hmm. That's the first element. And yes, you see her boiling the pot of water, and she's saying she rebuked you in the name of Jesus and all of that. You're evil, blah, 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 right? So a proper response could have been, and then there were two officers. That was the piece that was disturbing for me. The one who actually shot her, it's not clear to me, or should I say initiated the first shot. I don't know which one even initiated the kill shot, but you shoot a woman who is unarmed, clearly, even if she were armed with the hot water, right? She won't be able to get to both of you. B, the pot wasn't big enough to get to the both of you. C, let's say one person takes one for the team.
Mm-hmm.
The other person makes the arrest swiftly, right? I'm just looking at everything that's here. And then immediately you hear somebody say, well, where's the gun? What gun? Like, what gun? A gun was never mentioned. He literally asked, he said, what are you doing in that pot of water? She said, I'm boiling it for you, devil. You Satan. Something like that. Something to that order. She was like, I rebuke you with the name of Satan. And then he, in the name of Satan, he said, well, no, you're not going to hit me. I mean, put that hot boiling water on me. And he pulls the gun out. The moment she sees the gun, she surrenders, takes her hand off the pot, and she's like, oh, no, I was just playing. And literally in her ducking, they shoot a defenseless woman. It's all of that for me. It's
you know where that line that don't. He gonna have a defense that he feared for his life.
No, he has no defense. He couldn't have feared from if there was a counter between him and her. She never launched towards him. The body cam footage is very clear.
He gonna stand on it.
No, she said it and she retracted it. But the thing is, his gun was out wavering in front of her. He was threatening her with the gun and she was surrendering the entire time. The pot of water never left her. If anything, it burned her in the aftermath after they started shooting if it moved. But my thing is, I don't understand how this happened. My heart aches for her children. My heart aches for her parents. And I've seen video of her parents and things. I've even seen this be politicized. Like, what kind of humans are y'all?
How long has he been an officer?
I know they said that he worked for several different police precincts in the past 3 years. And several complaints were filed. Excessive force, police brutality, several complaints. I don't understand how they keep these people on the force when it's clear that they are unqualified to do the job. Those are my serious thoughts about that piece.
You know why? Because there are candidates, first time applicants don't apply for those jobs, so they get the precedent over them because they got the experience in lieu of them not wanting.
Yeah, but your experience is negative experience.
But they'll take any experience and like they'll cover it up. The little boy that was in this, they will cover it up. They have a little officer who experience. They would ask him probably something like, "Oh, you not working no more," or whatever. And confident, he said, "Okay, I'm not." They'll hire him. All from law enforcement, a lot of other people too.
Yeah, sometimes it's who you know, but you have to have test scores. No, sometimes it's who you know. A lot of times I'm just getting these recruits that are straight out of the academy.
Yeah, that off the county wall. So that's a good viable candidate. Get experienced people to come in like him. As long as it's something they can get away with, they'll do it.
I don't know what the possible answer to how it is that we remedy.
Well, you got to do what they're trying to do here. You got to get an updated facility and retool these officers with mental awareness and how to acknowledge it, how to treat it, how to recognize it, how to de-escalate it.
I think that's important too, but I also think adequate provisional training and transitional training for mental health advocates and mental health teams and experts that are on the scene with police officers. Adequate training for those individuals is necessary too, because I notice is even mental health professionals do not have the right training oftentimes.
They should be somebody with that type of experience with the officer.
It should be a twofold experience, because sometimes I'm looking at mental health workers, people that are in mental health, and they don't have the proper response and they're not properly trained. And I look at some of the training protocol, even for crisis response in America. That's why the number of suicides are so high. I feel like they're inadequately staffed and inadequately prepared to handle it. But I just feel like better training. Right? More research. We've got to get the funds into the proper places. We keep funding these campaign trails for people to, scream obscenities at one another. We need to fund and back a campaign for mental health and wellness for our people in our communities, to uplift our communities, for people to sit and problem solve around the economic crisis that we're currently experiencing in America and how it is that we find ourselves on the other end of this thing. I think those are things we need to be putting our money into. But those are my thoughts. What about reasonable fear in the Black community? How do you think police have a right to be afraid of us?
Yeah.
To what extent?
To every extreme, because they have shown you they have weapons. You're not afraid to use them, and they're chaotic and they stupid and sporadic and scared. And that's not nothing you want to deal with in the street. That's a bad combination.
I find something safe to do. Okay, so you think so? You're referring to only to citizens that have weapons.
All of them have weapons, or multiple weapons, carry them multiple times at one time, but to use them at all times. So that's where we at.
True.
You a victim of circumstance or robbery at any moment.
Anything could be a weapon, though. I agree.
And on top of that, we have extreme public violence. First of all, they have back in all day, but all the came in, and people came into play. Now, you respond to a simple call, it go haywire real quick.
That's true.
Over nothing. You don't even see it coming.
So, does that mean that Black people need to be more self-conscious, self-aware, and seek the help that they need around their emotional and mental maturation and calibration, in your opinion? Because I think oftentimes that's the biggest issue. Keeping ourselves well, knowing what wellness looks like for us and what's normal, acceptable normal, and what's normal, dysfunctional normal.
Yeah, normal self-respect, those things just there to kind of fall in line.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Respectability politics fall within the normal, acceptable, not dysfunctional.
No, disposition in life. They just
overall.
Yeah. They come at you disrespectful. They demean disrespectful from the offset.
That's true. That's true. So people are losing it. The question is, are you okay? So I just talked about the importance of us learning to or stepping into a place of accountability where we are more self-aware, where we're more self-conscious about who we are in our process. What are some normative components of who we are and how we present? Excuse me. That are positive, and what are norms, right? Normative components of us in our personality development overall that are dysfunctional, right? So I think having a certain level of awareness around those things is definitely important. We have to know when we've lost it. We've got to know that, you know what? There is no more of the cord to pull. Right? Because here's the thing, right? We all are like, I like to consider us like, that cable cord, the bungee cable cord, right? Mm-hmm. And that cord can be the strongest in the world. Literally, it can pull a tree out the ground, right? Think about it. Yeah. However, when we stretch that cord to its fullest capacity, A, we do not know that we've reached the capacity. There's no warning, right? B, the snapback could be detrimental. It could kill a person, the amount of force there is. Right. So in the same way that is happening in our community, the type of illness that is plaguing our community is not COVID. I personally feel like it's the remnants of the excessive hostility that we see in people in the aftermath of them having to take mRNA vaccinations, right, or injections. However, we're here now, right? So it's good for us to reassess where we are as far as our anger, hostility, temperature, high heads or low heads, how we're prevailing as people in general, right? What are the things that are triggering us into negative spaces / positive spaces? What do we need to do to keep ourselves balanced and calibrated? Wellness check-ins with self. I think we have to do that. We have to ask ourselves, when we wake up in the morning, we have to say, are you okay? And we got to be serious about that thing, okay? Because if you're not serious about it, you're not doing your own due diligence. Respect yourself enough, love yourself enough to prioritize yourself before you align yourself with anything else. So you have to ask yourself, am I okay? Like, are we okay? We have to say, are we okay? Because we are the sum of a collective parts, right? Regimen. Is this part of us okay? Is that part of us okay? Okay, are we good with that happened? This that happened? We have to do those check-ins. And when we find that we're not, we have to know what it is to find a qualified mental health provider and get the help that we need to recalibrate. There is nothing wrong with being in somebody's chair. Yeah. Even if it's their vertical chair. Yeah. It's nothing wrong. I'm a therapist and I have a therapist. It's important. That's the thing that keeps us well enough to do the things that we are willing enough to do. The tasks that are not so easy. The things that we're not so passionate about. The hard stuff in life, okay? So be careful, be safe out there, and know how you are at all times. Do a wellness check-in, okay? So let's move on to this relationship talk. Question of the day, of the week is it appropriate to discuss sex on the first date? And actually, this person said, is it appropriate to discuss sex on the first date if you have no intentions on having sex with the person?
That's a lot of broad comment, a broad statement. It could be not so sexually insensitive. It could be, sexual conversation. So I don't see how you can avoid it. Come up. It's not something you intentionally want to talk about, but it come up. It's thing. It is what it is. Well, there's so many components to that, so you can't just say, what it could be like. It could be they want to know your if they like you, they might want to know your preferences and stuff like that or whatever. I don't know. So they want to see what you talk about, what you stand for, what goes on there. So so they want to see. So ask you some things. That's important to the person they want to, right? That may be their first date question.
I think sex is important to talk to a person.
I don't think the first date be wrong
about
talk, right?
On the first date, the first conversation, really. Because here's the thing, especially in the case like the person who submitted this question today, they said if you don't intend to have sex with a person. My thing is, on the first date, how do you know? How are you for certain that that's not what you want with that person? Because otherwise, would you be going on a date with them? And I know like folks are dating now for just like sport or whatever, just to have something to do.
If you go on a date with a person, more likely you have some level of physical attraction. Even minimal, you got some attraction to them, some kind of way. You can date that person. You give a person your time and sit across and eat with them, you got to feel some type of attraction to them. It may not be sexual, but it's going to be something. I don't know what they may look like for every different person, but conversation, appearance, it be hungry, or whatever it might be. I don't know. It's a free meal. It can be a lot of things. They really just show up, eat and talk to you while you eating. That's it. That's their date. If they're not trying to get to know you. So what they talk about fine with them, they don't care. Eating. You paying.
So you don't feel like you're wasting your time?
Yeah, depends. They get their parent. Yeah. You don't know until the parent. You don't know if she's trying to just have a free meal. She just go, oh, this food. I'll be clearing that chuckle. Get out the room. Go home and go sleep now. Bye. See you. Not see him again. But that's a good meal. people, I felt it before. I was getting done that way. You know, so I can that.
You felt like that?
Yeah, it was about the meal. You know, they didn't want to pay for it. They want the experience. You know, they talk about everything you want to talk about, but it's something you have with them anyway. You don't talk to them no more. You know. So there's that. It's all things you talking to, or you use that to.
So continue to let me know what you guys think. Because I don't know. I don't know. I think it's appropriate. I think you should be having a conversation about sex because, especially if you're a person who has no intention on moving forward with the person, whether it's sexually or otherwise, I think you should be talking about how it is you found yourself on a date. Because, okay, I will say sometimes you go on a date with friends. Sometimes you go on a date with coworkers. Sometimes you go on a date with other people that you're not romantically interested in. But in the context of a romantic date, I think it's definitely appropriate for a first date to be the space where you explore topics around sex. You said what?
They may be some stuff you're not into. You kind of want to know it before you get into.
Yeah, I'd rather know it then than tonight.
Well, I'm not ready for that. You know, too late then.
Right.
That's not no hold on, wait a minute type situation. He doesn't got you going now. He early was pearl or somebody. You don't know.
Do you think it matters if the people are already sexual or if they're like virgins?
I've been saying in case they.
Does your opinion change?
I've been, in case they into some weird stuff you got into. I don't know if you consider it weird. They make it weird, So,
Which is why I think it's important to have the discussion. Because I think you have to talk about it. Sex is like taboo. It's okay for you guys to have sex. It's interesting to me. It's American ideation that it's okay for us to have sex, risky sex, whatever kind of sex, right? We could expose one another to HIV over the course of us having sex, but it's never okay for us to have a discussion about it. I don't understand that.
That's
period.
What I'm talking about. You will jump right into it and never know what you got to it.
Right.
That comes you had that conversation. Same thing about you, baby.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, how can you jump into bed with somebody that you've not even explored because here's the thing, right? Having children, or should I say pregnancy, is a direct result of engaging in the sex act, right? So if you don't want to have kids one day, don't you think that's important to have that conversation before you actually indulge in sex with the person? If you potentially want to have sex or want to wait for sex until marriage, don't you think it's an important conversation to delve into before you engage in the building of the relationship's foundation? Because that person deserves to know what your value systems look like and which things are hard passes for you. That's my opinion. Okay. So, BIPOC Mental Health Month final tips. This is 3 days? 2 days. Yeah, until the very last day of the month. I offered you guys already your wellness tip on the one that I asked you to, ask yourself every morning, create a ritual to where you're asking yourself, are you okay? Rituals are very important for me for a couple of reasons, right? Human beings are creatures of habit. Habit means that we condition ourselves, recondition ourselves, decondition ourselves to recondition ourselves. That is how we are. Our brains control our body responses. Our brain controls our emotional responses. Our brain controls our cognitive, propensity to retain information. Our brain controls everything. It's our control center, literally. So it's important for us to condition it in a way that is consistent with what our outcomes we would like to achieve, essentially, right? So it's important every morning that you wake up and you have a healthy ritual, but before you even go to sleep for the night, you also have a healthy ritual. I don't care if you're a person that stays up until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, you should still have a bedtime ritual, right? Because it tells your body that we are now about to do whatever follows after you've done it for a while. So in the same light, having a morning ritual is equally as important, especially for people who have had traumatic exposures that suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder or post-traumatic stress syndrome or post-traumatic stress situations, anxiety and panic attacks, etc. We have to have something in our lives that is a constant, because that's the thing that keeps you grounded. So, in the interest of that piece, I want you guys to create healthy rituals as to how it is that you compartmentalize the things in your life, or the parts of your life that need to be shelved until you're done with the things that are essential. And then come back to those things at the end of the day and figure out how it is or why it is those things are trying to intrude on your regular day-to-day movements. So that, my darlings, is all that I've got. I appreciate you guys for sitting through. And I apologize so deeply to those of you who will hear me on the replay and realize that this show is extremely short. I know there is a lot of content here. I do want you to know that this content is definitely important to me. And I did touch on all the speaking points that I wanted to. Let's continue to have the conversation in the comments. Let's continue to, have the conversation on places like Clubhouse. Let's continue to have the conversation around our tables at our dining area. Please continue to have the conversation around the importance of us reshaping democracy by understanding why it is democracy exists and how it looks when it's properly activated. We have to be people that force the folks that are in office to do what is legal and logical and morally and ethically right. And that is to give us an opportunity to exercise our right to democracy as private citizens in a free country of America, even though there are several things that's got me questioning whether or not we're truly free. But yeah, so that's all I've got, you guys. I appreciate your time today. And as always, if you are a returning subscriber, thank you. I do love you guys. Literally, I do. And if you are a new subscriber or new viewer, please hit the subscribe and the like buttons below or wherever you find it, depending on where you're watching me from. And I will see you guys again next week for another show on Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. And I want to thank Kale for taking the time out to sit with me. It's been an interesting conversation. I hope that you guys were able to hear him, because I do know that that's typically something that the viewers tell me they can't hear, because he speaks so lightly when he's on this show. But if only you knew. Only.
If only you knew. Okay.
I don't want to know. I would think
Thank you guys for supporting my wife's show. And please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you. YouTubers.
All right. So that is all I got, you guys. Be safe. Be a positive impact on the people that are connected to you. And continue to put positivity and light and love into the atmosphere around you. You are loved and you are valued here. Until next time, later days.